Hello and welcome to Motivated Learning, presented by Visual Learning Solutions. I'm your host, Buddy Broyles. Motivated Learning is a program created for the education and learning design community to raise awareness about the people and the reason for quality professional education training. Visual Learning Solutions is based here in Frisco, Texas. Our training facility is equipped with a television studio, a separate control room to support a range of video productions, and much more. We are a proud and active member and often a sponsor of our Dallas Area Association of Talent Development. As this show is live, please be prepared to post any questions for our guests in the chat section as we will discuss them later in the program. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Brian Lowell French, founder of Harmonic Learning. Brian is a leadership creator, teacher, and coach, working to create a world where all feel equally valued, equally motivated, and equally cared for. Welcome to the show, Brian. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, buddy. It's great to see you.
Great to be seen. It's been such a crazy year for all of us.
It has been. In fact, I think one of the last times we saw each other was at a live conference, a year and a half, 2 years ago. So
yes,
it's at least
it's
good
coming
to
up
be virtually. Yeah.
Yeah, coming up on a couple years now. Right. So Brian, let's start off by having you share a bit about who you are for some of the people who may not know you.
Okay, well, that's a loaded question. I like to, when I'm asked something like this, I like to just first of all say I consider myself a loving husband and father first. My wonderful wife, Lori, and my kids, Evan and Garrett, they are my world, and everything that I do for them. So they're my main purpose in life. The second thing is I'm defined by my introversion. I'm very much an introvert. I'm a leadership development coach and consultant. And in this space, I've taken, I think, every single personality behavioral assessment out there. And every single one of them, I'm at the scale of introversion. If there could be a way to be off the scale, I would be off the scale on the introverted side. So things like this are really not natural for me. I'm used to being on your side of the lens, buddy, actually asking the question. So having to be the focus is not a comfortable thing for me. So I've had to do this enough, though, that I will try to be engaging and interesting and talk enough to fill the space. Professionally, that's another interesting question. I've had a very varied career and done a lot of different things, and we'll get into that in a moment. I call myself a leadership creator, teacher, consultant, and coach. By creator, I just mean that I'm focused on creating content, creating new ways to look at leadership, to look at life, in order to open up doors of recognition and awareness. And then I like to teach that. I'm called to teach, and we'll talk more about that later as well. When I
think
consult,
it's an interesting.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, as a consultant, it's just my pleasure to go in and work with clients. And as a coach, an executive coach, I just love really digging deep with people, find out what motivates them, what makes them tick, and how they can tick even better in the work that they do. So go ahead.
Well, I think it's very important to point out what you said. Obviously, family first. I think that's really important for everyone, that if we get lost in our career, we definitely lose something along the way. So that's very important, and I definitely subscribe and agree to that. Second, one of the bigger hurdles for anyone, and you may not think this, but my career was definitely behind the lens, not in front of it. So for most of my career, I've been on the other side of the camera. And the fact that you and many like you, and even myself, have overcome a major hurdle for introverts is to step in front of the lens, step in front of people, because when you have as much knowledge as you do and the passion you have for what you do, not being able to get in front of people really costs them. How can they learn from someone who has a career like you and others like you if you're not able and willing to cross that hurdle? So that's a big deal, and that's something others can learn is, don't be afraid of this. People want that knowledge from you, and the only way to do that is to get past that introversion. And like you, I've taken tons of personality tests, and I've found I'm more of an extrovert than I would have thought. But even getting in front of people like this is a challenge. So Good for you. So let's talk. Yeah. Let's move forward to your entire journey. And because I know you started back, like me, way back when in media production. You had
That's
a multimedia company, so a lot of hats along the way. So let's go back and talk about all the different roles that led you to your current role at Harmonic Learning.
Yeah. That's it's fun to talk about because when you and I get together and others like us who started back in the days when we were actually shooting on tape, so we'd have this big
Yes.
camera that weighed 20, 30 pounds on our shoulder, and we had this big tape that went inside the camera, and then we would take it back and put it in a machine, and you controlled the machine with some little knobs for doing what was called linear editing at the time. I got my degree in mass communications, and my goal was to go out to Hollywood and be the next Steven Spielberg. We see now
Wow.
that did not happen. And you may be able to see behind me, I am a musician and singer-songwriter. So I have a piano and various rhythm instruments, a guitar and a bass guitar kind of in the shadow over there. So that's been my other love of my career. And when I went to Los Angeles early in my adult life, it was either to be the next Steven Spielberg or to be the next Billy Joel. Neither of those happened, obviously, but I've still tried to infuse those loves throughout my career. I did start my career the first 3 years. I was a production manager for a small video production company in Oklahoma, and we made TV commercials, we made documentaries, we made promotional tapes, and we made training tapes. And making training tapes was what told me early on that I love teaching. And at that point, it was teaching through media. But then after I did a stint in Los Angeles, I didn't stay very long, half a year, but it was enough to tell me that, well, I'm not going to be the next Steven Spielberg. I'm not going to be the next Billy Joel. So what do I want to do? Do I want to stay out here, wait tables and try to wait for a big break, or go back home and start an actual life? So I chose the latter. So I moved back to Oklahoma, and I worked for 9 years at Tri-County Technology Center. It's a most people would call it a technical college. It's kind of an interesting model in Oklahoma where you have you have high school juniors and seniors as well as adults who are paying tuition. So it's kind of a mixed model, but basically a technical college. And I was the technology director, so I was in charge of all technology for the campus, which included all distance learning technology. So back in the mid 90s, I was fortunate enough to be one of the first people in Oklahoma to teach a live two-way interactive video class, just like we're doing today. But in the mid 90s, it's like, whoa, you can do that over this thing called the internet. And sure enough, we were doing that over the internet.
Yeah.
And that's what got me into where I am today. Those early classes that I taught through our adult learning program across the state of Oklahoma, and for local folks as well. And then another key part of that journey was I started a program where we had all educators went through a state-sponsored technology learning program, leadership technology and leadership program that I was fortunate enough to be a part of. And I was teaching college professors, tenured college professors, teaching doctorate level courses, sitting next to kindergarten teachers in the same classroom, learning how to engage their students through the use of media and to deliver distance learning. So we were teaching them, remember this is the mid to late 90s, teaching them how to use PowerPoint more effectively and how to build a website so they could post their information online, and how to teach via this new technology of two-way interactive video. And I just love that because that was a way for me to infuse my video background with teaching, which I learned that it was where my passion lay. So going on in my journey, and please cut me off if I'm getting too long or verbose here.
No, this is good.
Going on my journey, so from those 9 years at Tri-County Technology Center, I went into the corporate world thinking I was going to greener pastures. Those greener pastures were WorldCom, which you don't really see on my profile because I just say I was with Verizon for 16 years. But the first 2 years of that, I was with WorldCom. And anyone who lived through that time knows that there was Enron, there was WorldCom, and that's what created all of the oversight that we have now within big corporations. Because WorldCom, unfortunately, two of the people at the very tippy top of the company did some bad things, and those of us who were in the ranks, I was a leadership development manager at the time. We had to suffer through a very strange time of massive layoffs, of bankruptcy period. Our department that had 30 in the leadership development department, it went down to just 5 of us who remained through the bankruptcy period. I say fortunate, perhaps unfortunate, who knows, but I was fortunate enough to be one of those 5, and we just kind of kept the ship afloat until we made it through bankruptcy, until Verizon bought us, and then we were infused within Verizon, and that's where a lot of opportunities opened up. All the way through, though, I was infusing video production, I was infusing music as I could through the leadership development programs that I would do. At Verizon, I had many different hats. I used to tease people, and our relatively small team had global leadership development responsibilities for 120,000 plus employees. And we did a lot of things. We did all of the leadership and management training. We did coaching and consulting around the enterprise. We managed all of the e-learning library for leadership and created courses. We managed the mentoring program, the new hire program, the tuition assistance program. The top talent program for a while fell under me, the ethics and compliance education, performance management program, and other things as needed. And I decided to leave there in 2016 to start my dream company, which is Harmonic Learning. And with Harmonic Learning, we offer a variety of things, leadership programs, executive coaching, teaming programs. And I use teaming as a verb because when you bring a team together, it takes action to build the team. And I also call it team strengthening instead of team building, because that's the ultimate goal, to strengthen the team through these activities and these learnings. And also mindfulness programs. I'd been a mindfulness person for years and years. And last year, as the pandemic was starting, I realized that there's a need for this. People were feeling so unbalanced and still are. And so I'm a certified mindfulness teacher, and I decided to go ahead and start marketing mindfulness programs as a standalone offering. So that's been a very interesting and enlightening and rewarding experience over the last couple of years.
So if you could, for me, Brian, can you go a little bit more in detail on what does it mean to be mindful? What are you teaching? What are they learning from a mindfulness? Define that for me.
Yeah, we often say things like, I need to be more mindful of this. I need to be more mindful of my partner. I need to be more mindful of my kids. I need to be more mindful of being on time. And being mindful itself is just being in tune with our 5 senses. It's seeing things more clearly, hearing things more clearly, feeling things, the tactile sensations, smelling, tasting. It's experiencing life in the moment. That's what being mindful is. So when we say I need to be more mindful with my partner, it means that I need to use my senses to be in tune in this moment with my partner or my kids or that project I'm working on, whatever it is that we're trying to be more mindful about. And then there's mindfulness as a practice. And mindfulness as a practice has had a very interesting history. Most people know that it's based on ancient Buddhist practices, but over the last 50 to 60 years in the United States, scientists, neuroscientists, medical doctors have refined the scientific and medical benefits to our mind, to our body, and created secular mindfulness and or scientific mindfulness practice. And when we're doing a mindfulness practice, it's getting in tune even further with the present moment. And it's done through a variety of different meditation techniques, visualization techniques, just a variety of things that we can do to create that attunement. And what it also does is regulate our nervous system. So if we're nervous, if we're stressed, it can balance that. It can reduce that. So we do feel more calm when needed. But I will say many people, and a lot of the marketing around mindfulness makes you think that it's all about just being calm. and being in a Zen state all the time. And that's not what it
Right.
is at all. It's just finding that regulation of our nervous system and emotions so we can be more productive, more effective, more loving, more kind with others, more present.
So, a question for you. Now, I know you serve your executive coaching and so on. So there are different audiences. Do you find that, and there's a range of, and we're talking about some of the younger people and what their definition of mindfulness is versus people, roughly our generation and so on. Are there certain generational gaps for mindfulness, the way they define it, and are there gaps there for how they the different senses you mentioned, or because I would suspect, and I have teenage children, adult children now, and they consume media, they consume training differently than people my age. What if any what gaps are you witnessing as you're identifying and approaching a mindfulness education?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I hadn't thought of it in that frame. So thanks for stoking some thought here.
Sure.
The young folks tend to get it more. It's more in the space. So there's a lot of hipness in mindfulness right now in the last few years. So you're hip if you do mindfulness. I've never been called hip in my life, being as old as I am and as bald as I am. But perhaps now I have a wee bit of hipness just because I'm a mindfulness teacher. But a lot of older folks, they frankly get worried, especially in corporate settings, when they hear the term mindfulness. They think it's religious based. They think it's going to make them lose their edge and lessen their energy, and they won't be as productive. So a lot of the work I do is just, first of all, getting over what I call the myths of mindfulness, of which there are many. So we can get down to the benefits that mindfulness practice can bring. And the younger folks, I find, just naturally get it. They naturally know that they need this balance in their life so they can be more productive, more effective, more kind and loving as well, both inside and out of work, in order to have that balanced life. As we're progressing in this mindfulness journey, it's becoming more and more known, more and more popular, more and more accepted, which is a great thing. And we liken it to brushing teeth. 100 years ago, actually not everybody brushed their teeth. They had various ways of cleaning their teeth, but this idea of holding a toothbrush and for 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening actually brushing your teeth, this idea of dental hygiene was not known until just after World War II in the masses. It was actually, I'm sorry, World War One. It was World War One where the soldiers were given a toothbrush to keep their teeth healthy during the war. That's when dental hygiene came into the form that we know it today. And mindfulness is much on the same journey. If we just took 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening to do a simple little mindfulness practice, it could create the mental hygiene that we need to have more balance, to be less stressed, to be more present with others.
Excellent. I can't wait to use the word hipness with my kids and see what their definition of that is. And I know it won't point anywhere toward me, so I'm okay with that. So let's talk about your why, Brian. What motivates you to continue on the journey that you set yourself on? What are your mantras and your models?
Yeah, thanks for that question, buddy. I mean, that's why we do what we do. In the leadership space that I work in, all of my programs, I start off with a couple of things. First of all, there's a leadership purpose exercise, then a visioning exercise, so people can start to create that vision of, I'm here now, I want to be there, how do I get there? But I also do a lot of just self-reflection worksheets and activities with people for them to explore what their purpose is. What is their why? When I got your list of topics that we'd be talking about, and I saw that why question, I started writing down a couple of notes, and the notes that came out were, I do what I do because I love to do what I do. I need to do what I do, and I have to do what I do. And the what I do is teach, coach, create, and ultimately try to help people to be happier people at work and at home. It's my mission. And obviously my focus is more in the workplace, dealing in the leadership space. But since I first got in this space so many years ago, I've known that everything that we can build in terms of leadership strengths at work benefits life outside of work. It helps people to be better in their community. It helps people to be better family members, better parents, better spouses, better partners. So that's my mission. When I started my company of harmonic learning, a lot of people asked me about the name harmonic and why I chose that, and it has a couple of meanings, a couple of analogies. First is the musical analogy. We have harmony in music. If you play a major chord on the keyboard, it's going to be a sweet sounding chord. If we play a minor chord on the keyboard, it intones tension. And our relationships, both at work and at home, are the same way. If we focus on major chords that are congruent chords, the frequencies are technically congruent with each other, creating that sweet sounding experience that we hear. We can use that as an analogy for creating great relationships, ones that are congruent with each other. And then the other aspects of harmony is obviously if we have harmony in our relationships, the world's a better place. And it's not saying that you're always going to be smiling and happy. No one is. But it's saying that when we are upset and when we're frowning, when we're perhaps worse than frowning, feeling these very negative emotions, if we approach our life, our relationships, our work with a sense of harmony, we will be building the infrastructure to help us to get through those situations, to get to a better conclusion. And sadly, a lot of people cannot say that they live and work in that kind of environment. So you ask about a mantra on our website and in our programs. I say that my mission is to create a more harmonic world where all people feel equally valued, equally motivated, and equally cared for. So when we break those three down, if everyone, equally is a key word, obviously, if everyone is feeling valued within this team, within this organization, what does that do to build them up? And if everyone is equally motivated to do the best that they can do, that's going to translate not only in work, but outside of work as well, to create this better world, to motivate people to good purpose. And if everyone feels equally cared for, and care is a word that a lot of people don't like to use in the workplace, but we need to get more comfortable with it. If everyone feels cared for in the workplace, what is that going to do to build trust, to build community, to build strength? And again, that translates to outside of work as well. If you feel cared for at work, you're more naturally going to care for others outside of work.
It's very well said, very well said. So real quick, you mentioned your website. What's the address for your website so they can learn more?
Oh, yeah, it's www.harmoniclearning.net.
And I know you have some training modules that are available both for free and for a fee there that cover a lot of the topics you've discussed today, correct?
Yeah, we sure do.
Excellent, excellent. So they can find more there. So final question, Brian, for a lot of our audience are transitioning from either teaching careers or they're, a good way into what they know, but they could always use a little bit of advice from someone who is at your level and understands the business as you do. What advice would you give to them just to help hone their skills and be better at what they do?
That's a big question.
Sure it is.
So I'm 57. I've been in 57 in a few weeks. So when you've been in the game as long as I have, you've seen a lot come and go. You've seen all the trends come and go, and there's flavor of the weeks in the talent development space, just like in all aspects of social life. But there's been one constant, and when you look back at the history of learning, which goes back many thousands, millions of years, depending on your perspective, we learn the same way now that we did thousands, millions of years ago. And thousands, millions of years from now, people will learn the same ways that they do now. And you can put new flavors to it. You can put new designs layered on top of it on how to reach that. But it's building engagement so the learner wants to learn. It's providing information in a way that it reaches them the way they need to learn, that is accessible to them. And regardless of the form, if you can do those two things, people will learn. And as a young person starting in the field, my advice is just to find those ways. And even if you're using the flavor of the week or this new piece of software or this new technology, keep those two things in mind, where ultimately it's engaging them and giving them the information in a way that they can consume it and learn.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, for taking time out of your busy schedule to share with us today.
Oh, I'm very happy to be here, Betty. This is a great show. I'm glad you're doing this. It's reaching a lot of people who need to be reached, especially during the times that we've been going through.
Wonderful. Well said. For the rest of you, please reach out if you have any questions about this show using the social media available to you. Of course, you can find us on Facebook at Visual Learning Solutions. Email us for any questions you may have about this show or any other topic related to learning at info@visuallearningsolutions.com. You can follow us on Twitter. We're happy to take your phone call, or you can follow us on other social media, including Instagram. We provide services such as instructional design, e-learning, instructional course development, and so much more, including, obviously, video production both here in the studio or out in the field, such as your corporate location or event center. Also, if you wish to host a show similar to this one, we can help, from developing the concept to set and show design, along with full production and marketing of your product. Thank you again for watching, and we hope you will tune in or even consider joining us as a guest on a future program. Please have a wonderful day. You literally wrote the book. You started with a first draft and spent countless hours pouring your wealth of knowledge onto the pages and published. Well done. Now take another step to reach a new, larger audience by converting your book into online training. Our learning design team can show you how to go digital with an instructional course based on your book. We can help you increase your revenue on both book sales and training online and increase your potential. You've completed the hard part. Now take the next step. Let us show you how. So you've got a big event coming up, and you want to know that you have a production partner who understands your goals and respects your budget. I, Buddy Broyles, along with my professional team at Visual Learning Solutions, can help. Either from our studio and control room in Frisco, Texas, or from a location of your choosing, or even 100% virtually, we will help you and your team execute a flawless event. We work with our clients on various aspects of broadcast. From social media marketing to intensive post-production, we've got you covered. Our company's leadership has been involved in live streaming for years with national respected brands. In our productions, we utilize the latest in multicam and streaming technology to present your event to an engaged, often interactive audience using the tools available in social media platforms and online event services. We can incorporate a myriad of elements, from graphics to text to photos to videos. If you need it in your production, we can make it happen. So if you're looking for a team of professionals to pair with for your next live stream, look no further. Visual Learning Solutions is ready to step in and help you achieve your streaming vision. Find out how by contacting us using the links provided.